Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on bringing you guys everything the leftist media doesn't want you to see. The Biden phenomenon. Supposedly, Biden's honest Uncle Joe. He's the honest guy and Donald Trump's the liar. At least that's what the media tries to convince you of by using dishonest, deceptive tactics. You always hear Democrats with the same talking point. Donald Trump lied 20-some-odd thousand times throughout his first 4 years in office. He's the biggest liar, blah, blah, frickin' blah. But the reality is there are very few politicians as honest as Donald Trump, as willing to say what they honestly believe, despite the media and political backlash. And so like I've been saying for years, I don't think Donald Trump has a dishonesty problem. I think he has an honesty problem. I think he's too honest and too open, and it ends up backfiring. Meanwhile, on the other hand, supposed honest Joe Biden is the biggest political snake in existence. His entire platform, a lie. All the woke stuff that he promised to do before he got elected was all part of a plan to clinch the Democrat nomination, and then of course moderate on the issues ahead of the general. His entire political persona blows with the wind. Whatever's working in the focus groups, let's do that. And so I guess if the media is going to continue to perpetuate this false narrative that Joe Biden is such an honest guy and his opponent is such a demon, well, we might as well clear the record. Joe Biden is one of the biggest liars in politics and one of the biggest political flip-floppers we've ever seen. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. Let's bring the receipts. For heading into an election, people ought to see the clips. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, let's first start off with the concept of flip-flopping. I think it's pretty safe to say that Donald Trump has a pretty clear history of where he stands politically. We all know that he's been saying the same thing since the 1980s, essentially. Now the question is, what about Piss Pants Joe? Well, like I mentioned earlier, frankly, Joe Biden is a littered piece of garbage, simply flowing in the wind, going whatever direction. Back in the day, Joe Biden was a real border protection hawk.
I don't know. Let me talk to something unsavory now, the issue of immigration.
Yeah.
Is there a Democratic Party position which accommodates the need to stop illegal entry, punish people who hire people at cheap wages illegally, and also gives hope to people who live here illegally and people who want to come here right now? Is there a possible combination that hits all those points?
I think there is, and I think that the McCain-Kennedy bill, Kennedy-McCain, the Specter bill that came out does it. If you take a look, Chris, at what Frist is talking about, only enforcement. The enforcement provisions that sit inside the Specter bill, the McCain or the Kennedy-McCain bill, there ain't a dime's worth of difference to them. They're the same amount of money, 12,000 new border agents.
You think they work?
I think they will work better if they actually, in fact, do it.
Can you scare an employer in this country, whether he's an agricultural worker or a housewife, into not hiring an illegal because the punishment's so high that if you get caught,
yes,
it's a huge embarrassment to your family, and you may just get hit with a fine that'll kill you?
Yeah, absolutely, you
can do that.
And that's what we should do. Well, I think we should do that.
Because you can't catch everybody.
You can't. No, you can't. And the last part of this is that the Democratic position also recognized you got 11 million illegal aliens here. They have to have a way to earn their way into the deal. This is an amnesty. They're required to take 11 years' worth. They pay a fine. They got to learn to speak English. They got to pass tests.
I like the English part.
Yeah.
I like the English part.
By the way,
if we want the problems of Canada right now, to keep encouraging people to keep their foreign language, English is going to unite this country potentially. It always has in the past.
I can't think of a country that has 2 languages as their accepted languages that is doing all that well, including Switzerland and or Canada.
It divides us.
Yeah.
You can't talk to each other. Anyway, thank you, Senator Joe Biden. We've solved it. You've done it.
Real anti-immigrant racist sentiment, right? I mean, by today's standard, according to Democrats, what you just saw would be atrocious. Can't have borders. Why? Well, because the orange man supports borders and border walls. And so nowadays, Joe Biden's apologizing for using the term illegal.
As you're probably aware, in President Biden's State of the Union speech last week, he referred to an undocumented immigrant as an illegal. There was immediate backlash from his base, but in an interview given on the tarmac outside of Air Force One the next day, Biden seemed to double down, saying, quote, technically he's not supposed to be here. But pressure from within the party seemed to force an apology during a sit-down with MSNBC's Jonathan Capehart on Saturday.
Not to mention, did you catch that? He was against a bill that would further expand border enforcement personnel, supposedly hiring 12,000 more agents, because he essentially claimed that it wouldn't get the job done. But now, according to Joe Biden and Democrats with their latest border bill shenanigans, that's exactly what's required to secure the southern border, isn't it? More funding for more agents and expanding the asylum system, more bureaucracy, more judges. Apparently that's the 2024 solution that Donald Trump spiked. There's multiple levels of hypocrisy here, but most importantly, what it continues to show us is Joe Biden's inconsistency. I'm not sure when that clip's from, but it seems like maybe the early 2000s. But apparently 20 years ago, that stance was perfectly appropriate and logical and common sense, but today it isn't. Is it because the morality has changed? No, not really. We're not talking about slavery, where a good chunk of society was participating in something that was clearly morally wrong, and then you see a slow shifting away from that kind of behavior. No, Joe Biden obviously still believes this stuff. This was the common sense, logical approach to this issue, but nowadays it doesn't play well politically, with the woke progressive Democrats essentially holding the DNC hostage. And so politicians are going to do politician things and simply go with the wind. People tend to call this flip-flopping, but what it really is lying. This proves that Joe Biden's a liar, despite the fact that he lies about literally everything, from something small to something big. Joe Biden has a history of lying about the smallest thing, like the first time he ran for president.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
He totally fabricated his academic track record. Joe Biden's entire political persona is based on lies. His story about getting arrested with Nelson Mandela never happened. His story of attending a black church growing up never happened. His story of his dad supposedly being really progressive on LGBT issues definitely never happened. His supposed connection to the Puerto Rican community where he grew up, even though we took a look at census data from the time that he grew up and Puerto Ricans essentially didn't exist in his area. He lied about being the first person to graduate higher education in his family, I'm pretty sure. I lose track of them, but there's a million different lies. It's endless. He lies from the smallest little things to make himself seem like relatable Scranton Joe. Then he also lies about big things, whether he was involved with the unmasking of Michael Flynn. He lied there. He lied about his son Hunter Biden's business deals. He lied about his son Hunter Biden's business laptop, claimed that it was all Russian disinformation. He lies about his track record. He lies about the economic data. He lies about the policies that he's supported in the past, and he constantly lies by flip-flopping on issues, simply going with the wind, doing and saying whatever the political calculus determines, whatever his advisors and consultants tell him to say, or these days, whatever they freaking put on his cue cards. That's what he'll say, because he's the biggest fraud in politics. He's like any other politician, except for him, it seems like it's a sense of pride. He's playing this politics game, and he just keeps on winning all the way up. I mean, he's failed and lied his way up to the freaking presidency. Being a dishonest politician is just part of the persona. This is the truth. Everything that I said is all public knowledge. All of these clips are in the catalog, on the record. It's just, of course, the media pretends they don't exist. The people don't know they exist. The people don't know that Joe Biden threatened Ukrainian officials to fire a prosecutor investigating his son, even though the Democrats attempted to impeach Donald Trump over the same thing, which he never actually did. The people don't know that Joe Biden essentially stole classified documents from his time as a senator, storing them in various different facilities, one facility supposedly funded by the Chinese, and all the while this was happening, while the DOJ was aware of this, and probably the Biden administration as well, Joe Biden sat in an interview with the media and claimed how irresponsible and how horrible it was that Donald Trump was holding documents from his very recent presidency that he had the right to declassify.
When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself, looking at that image?
How that could possibly happen. How anyone could be that irresponsible. And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods? By that I mean names of people who helped, or et cetera. And it just totally irresponsible.
He is a liar, but the media pretends as if all of that doesn't exist. And they prop this guy up while they continue to attack Donald Trump in the most vicious of manner, taking his quotes out of context, like the bloodbath incident recently or the supposed threat against a New York judge's family. You know, do the one thing that Brian Stelter doesn't want you to do. Do your own research, and you will see that it's very clear that the ones pointing the finger at the other side, claiming the other side is lying, have the longest and most proven track record of malicious dishonesty. The same people who are hiring misinformation experts and lecturing us on misinformation are on the side participating in the greatest misinformation campaigns of this decade. Do what CNN, MSNBC don't want you to do. Just do your own research. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.